Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Frugal Me Live, where we talk about all things related to your finances. Tonight, we're talking about budgeting. And before we get started, just want to give a quick shout out to Keisha, my wife, for working all of the background technology there. But I am so excited tonight to have Anna, also known as the Millennial, Anna. Hi, Anna. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I am doing great, and thank you so much for joining us here on Frugal Me Live tonight.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
All right, Anna, so can you tell everyone a little bit about you and where they can find you?
Yeah, so hello, everyone. I am the Organized Millennial here on YouTube. I have a channel where I share budgeting videos on different aspects of budgeting, monthly budgeting, paycheck budgeting, and it's all using my real numbers. So you guys can see me lay out my budget, and you can also find me on Instagram at the Org Millennial.
All right, and that's one thing I really love about your channel as well, that you use your real numbers and the transparency is there. So it serves as great inspiration as well, just to see that these are real numbers, and the numbers that I may come up with would be different than what you would come up with, but it's like, it's real. So you're able to sit down and just do a budget, and it's very inspiring for that. So Anna, what is a budget or a spending plan? Or what would you say your definition of that would be?
Yeah, I mean, so a budget or a spending plan is really just you telling your money where you want it to go instead of wondering where it went at the end of the month, right? Like so many of us have probably done before. It's you kind of laying out your income, laying out your expenses, your bills, what needs to get paid, what do you have going on that month that you need that might change your budget a little bit. But really, it's just you telling your money where you want to go, where you want it to go.
Okay, versus your money telling you where to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That too.
So I started off budgeting whenever, it was right before I got married. That's whenever I sat down with pen and paper and began to budget. And I got very like, wow, when I looked down and was over $150,000, close to $200,000 in debt. So by using a budget, I was able to pretty much relieve a lot of that debt and begin to have more freedom in my finances. So what was your eye-opener moment whenever you realized that you needed to start budgeting?
Yeah, it was instilled in me growing up. My dad was very much always telling me to be responsible with your finances, save, pay yourself first. So I kind of always grew up very money conscious. And I knew the lifestyle that I wanted was to be comfortable. I didn't want to live paycheck to paycheck. And so I pretty much used that as motivation. I mean, even prior to budgeting on YouTube, I was budgeting, on my own anyway, probably since college years. It wasn't as in depth. Now I do all sorts of aspects of budgeting, but I was always very conscious of money. So I think it was just knowing where I wanted to be and knowing that I didn't want to always have to stress or worry about money.
All right. We have a comment here from Shay TV. It says, I have 10 kids. Should I budget during Christmas or spend it on them? I was thinking about $15 per kid.
Yeah. So, I mean, whenever you can budget, I say budget because that gives you a plan and an idea of where your money is going. And it's great that you already have a set amount. It looks like that you want to budget for each kid. And at the end of the day, I mean, knowing that you can give something to them during Christmas is a great feeling. So I would say if you can budget during Christmas, I think $15 per kid is fine, especially since kids' gifts, I mean, I don't know what the ages are for the kids, but they tend to be a little less expensive than, a new iPhone, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I even know with my two girls, that they ask for things for Christmas. But even today, I was at the Dollar Tree and my daughter just got so excited because she saw dolls at the Dollar Tree. So,
Perfect.
there's alternatives. And I, even with my daughters, I pretty much raised them to know the value of money, but they're not so focused on like, I need the PS5, because they're at the mind point now and at the stage now that by teaching them about finances and budgeting, my daughter, like this year, she's using her own money for Christmas shopping, because to me, I'm like, that's the value of the dollar, teaching the value of the dollar, and also teaching the value of giving. Because before this year, my daughters, we would go out there and I would say, what do you want to buy, mommy? And they would just go pick out this like expensive thing. And I try to say, well, don't you think mommy would like this? And they would have their mindset on that expensive gift.
Yeah.
It's funny because this year, I'm like, yeah, mommy would really like that. And Lizzie, she's 9 years old. She said, Daddy, that's $30. And we can get the same thing for 15 here. And it's just a different color. I mean, but that's teaching
amazing.
moment.
Yeah.
And, and that was literally like a proud dad moment right there.
Yes, it's so important. I mean, it was what I was mentioning before. My dad instilled that in me in a young age, and it's followed me throughout my life and has made me pretty responsible with my finances. And I'm so grateful for that. So it's so important to start them young. I think that's great.
So what are the benefits? And I believe we already covered some, but what are the benefits of having a budget or a spending plan?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest thing is it gives you a sense of control or a sense of knowing where your money's going, and you don't feel, I think a lot of times with money, oftentimes people feel like it controls them and not the other way around. And I think budgeting gives you a chance to feel like you're in control of that more. But I also think it's a great peace of mind. When you have a budget and you know where your money's going, you can work towards financial goals that you have, whatever those might look like. And that just makes it easier. So I think the biggest is probably more of a peace of mind, but also having control of your finances.
All right. And going back to budgeting for the holidays, I see that it's a comment here. It says, should I feel guilty of spending money on my new girlfriend? She wants a Gucci purse. Not really sure it's worth it.
I mean, if it's in your budget, great. I don't know that I would buy a Gucci purse. That sounds expensive. If I'm being honest. Of course, obviously it's a personal choice for you if you choose to do that. But I think there are other things that can probably be just as thoughtful and maybe not as expensive.
Yeah, when I first met Keisha, and this just reminded me of a quick story. Met Keisha, didn't know what to get her. We were dating like for 3 months at this time. And I was like, yeah, I want to go get her some flowers, but she didn't like flowers. I wanted to get, and my mind just really left. So I ended up getting her a white gold necklace and bracelet set. And that was it was north of $700.
Woo.
But luckily, we're married today.
Yeah.
But if I would look back, I would look back in retrospect and
it's
like,
true.
I could have easily just like got her what do you call it? The fruit that you eat, edible arrangements, something like that. But
it was like the fruit you eat.
And I don't want to get too far off topic here, but at the beginning when Keisha and we were dating, it was one of those things. It's like I made it clear, and that was probably the young me talking. I was like, but if we ever don't work out or break up, I want that ring and the bracelet and the necklace back. I always make that clear. It's like,
yes. Yeah. I mean,
all right, but I don't want to get too far off the topic with budgeting, but but it's just one of those things that even then I didn't operate on a budget. So if I would buy someone a gift, I would make sure that I have the money for it. Right. And my dad always told me, is that when you give somebody a gift or give someone a money or something, don't expect it back. Give it as you're giving it as a gift. So it's one of those things. If you are buying your girlfriend a gift and it's going to break your pockets or hurt your pockets,
right?
That's your answer, I feel.
Exactly. I could not agree more. I think there are tons of thoughtful gifts out there that she would love that don't have to be super expensive.
All right. Do you think it's okay to budget while on welfare, or should I get off welfare and save? I would say, do you want to take that, Anna?
Yeah, sure. I see Maria saying hi, and I think Asia said hi earlier. So I want to say
Hi,
hi to them.
Asia, Sierra,
Hi, guys.
Maria.
So yes, I think you should budget. I think regardless of the income that comes in or where the income comes from, budget whatever you can budget. Because again, there's no tag in budgeting that says it needs to come from a certain place. Wherever your income is coming from, you should budget. If you can afford to save now, sure, go ahead and save. Absolutely, if you can afford to do that.
All right. So what categories and items should be included in your budget?
Yeah, so some of you guys may know of Dave Ramsey. It's like a financial guru, radio show host. There's like a million hits if you search him on YouTube. But one of the things that he preaches are the 4 walls, which is what I follow. So you want to make sure your bare necessities are covered first. So you want to make sure you're covering mortgage, you're covering rent, you want a roof over your head, make sure you're covering food, make sure you're covering transportation. If you're driving, that's a car insurance, gas, all the things that come with owning a car that I know about because I'm still paying mine off. Car payments and all that good stuff, or public transportation if that's how you get around. And basic utilities, so electricity, gas. So you want to make sure those bare necessities are covered, and then you can think about, the debts. Do you need to pay student loans, credit cards, whatever have you? And then come like the wants, right? Like the subscriptions you might have, the clothes you want to buy, the new purse, whatever have you, kind of come. So usually what I say is kind of prioritize them by your needs, right? And then your wants. But those are some examples. I think a really good resource, especially if you're just getting started with budgeting, is the EveryDollar app. Even if that's not the way you like to budget. For example, I budget with a planner. Pen and paper is my way to go. I can't even look at a spreadsheet because I will probably cry. So, but the EveryDollar app gives you some preset categories that you can look at and see like, oh, these are the categories I should think about when I'm creating a budget. So I think that's a great place to start. But those are the categories that I would suggest.
All right. Okay, so I see Shay TV here that I play fantasy football. It costs about $500 between all leagues. Should I stop playing, or is gambling considered budgeting since I can win?
That's a good question. I know absolutely nothing about fantasy football, so just take that for what it's worth. I mean, I can't tell you whether or not you should stop playing. I think that decision is up to you. I don't know that gambling would be a category that I would have in my budget. I think that's considered an extra that you would do, if you have disposable income, basically. If you don't, then that's probably not something I would recommend.
All right. Well, awesome. So whenever you sit down, and I know you're really good at this, Anna, whenever you sit down with your pen and paper and going through your budget, could you just walk us through what a budget meeting would look like, or the process of planning your budget?
Yes. So essentially what I do is first list the income that's coming in for the month. So that includes everything: side hustles, full-time jobs, if you're married, partner, spouse, what they're bringing in, if you guys budget together. So you want to make sure you have a clear picture of that. And then you want to have a clear picture of your fixed expenses, which basically are the bills that always come in that pretty much never change, that you have to pay every month. And then you can start to think about your other expenses that still come in every month, like maybe utility bills, but are variable, so they change in amount. And then you want to start thinking about the month, right? Because months are different. My December budget looks very different than my like March budget, for example. So what's going on that month? Do you have birthdays that month? Is Christmas going on? Do you have Thanksgiving? Do you have other holidays? Do you have weddings? What things do you have to plan around? Baby showers? There's so many things that are going on that can slip our minds when we're building your budget. So you want to make sure that you really think about what you have going on that month or those couple of weeks, depending on what your budgeting style is.
Okay. And I see Rochelle. How you doing, Rochelle?
Yay.
So
Hey,
good to see you here.
Rochelle.
All right. She said, do you feel like your budget style changes over the years?
Yes, probably. Probably a bit. I mean, I would say I've always kind of been pen and paper as far as that goes. I haven't always budgeted monthly. I always used to actually budget by paycheck. It was just easier for me to digest it in smaller amounts. So that's changed as far as, my budgeting monthly. Cash envelopes have changed. Those were not things that I used before. So definitely some aspects of my budgeting style has changed. But I think your budget kind of ebbs and flows with you. My financial goals at 18 are not what my financial goals are now at 30 something, 32 or whatever, however old I am at this point. They change and they ebb and flow with you. But yes, I would definitely say that my budgeting style has definitely changed a bit.
Oh,
and finding out what works for you too.
Because, that's so true. What I was budgeting, just say at 18 and 21 is much different now, especially when life and the kids hit. So,
yes, you know it. It's so different.
I never had Chuck E. Cheese in my budget until that little one running around. So now it's Chuck E. Cheese money, ice cream money.
Yes, yes. And the things you think about too are different, I don't have kids, but, now I'm thinking about retirement and Roth IRAs and investing. And at 18, I was thinking about like Beyonce concerts and such. So changes for sure.
All right. Would you say that, what would you say to the person that says a budget won't work for me?
I would say you're probably doing it wrong. Because, when you think about what a budget is, it's designed by you for you. So no one else really knows that better than you do. So if it's not working, then you need to change it, basically. And I think where this comes in a lot of the time is that people think that a budget is this perfect kind of document that you need to follow to a T, and that's not true. Your budget changes. We were just talking about it. Your budget changes with you. It can change with the month that comes, the time of year. It can change with what you have going on. It can change and will change all the time. So I think you need to make sure that you allow for that flexibility in your budget. But it's designed by you. So if it's not working for you, make sure you change it so that it does.
I'm laughing over here at Asia Sierra. She said, I think my budget changes by
same Asia girl, same. Yes, for sure. It's constantly changing, constantly.
So I love it that a budget is also too like a living, breathing document. So if it don't work, just tweak it here, tweak it there, and
tweak as much as you need to.
As long as you're not pushing it into the red.
Right.
So that brings me up to my next question.
Right.
What happens if you run out of money before the month ends?
So, life happens. So I think this happens sometimes, but ideally, if you have a budget, hopefully that you can avoid that from happening, right? If you're following a budget and you're consistent with it. But I think this is where the importance of an emergency fund comes in and general savings comes in. It's so important to save for those rainy days or rainy months. We all know when it rains, it tends to pour. So you want to make sure that you have funds for those days. I think it's just so important to make sure that you are putting money away so that that doesn't happen. And if it does, you have a place to grab from. But I think like my best rule of thumb, again, is to make sure that your bare necessities are taken care of first. So if that happens, you know, towards the end of the month, at least you're okay until whenever you're paid the next time, if those bare necessities are taken care of. So it's really important to make sure those are taken care of first in case you run into that, but also making sure that you're saving for those months and those days when it happens.
Absolutely. And so I know a lot of times when people think about budgets, Anna, they pretty much feel that they're being restricted and limited. But what I'm hearing, that's not really the case. So can I use a budget and still enjoy my life?
Of course. Oh my gosh. I would never be budgeting if that was not a thing. Trust me. So I'll give you an example. This year, at the end of February, we went to Disney and I cash flowed that whole vacation to Disney World. And if you guys know anything about Disney World, it's wildly expensive.
Yes.
And I did that with a budget. And actually, it's the first time I was ever able to cash flow a vacation. It was always like swipe the credit card and then we'll look at the bill after vacation. It's fine. It's cool. And I was able to do that on a budget, you know. Again, it's just making sure that your budget works for your situation, to make sure that you're saving. If you have a goal of going on a vacation, make sure you're saving for that so you can cash flow it. But it's about building your budget around those goals.
Okay. And how much money should I have saved up by 40? This is coming from Shay.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that there's a certain amount you need to have saved by a certain age. I mean, usually what we hear when I think again about Dave Ramsey is you need to have $1,000 put away at least in your emergency fund. But I don't think that's enough to cover for an emergency fund. So I would say you probably want to make sure that you have at least 3 to 6 months saved of like your expenses. For example, if you were to lose your income for some reason, you want to make sure you're able to do that. So whatever that looks like, that again, it varies. Budgeting varies so much depending on person and family and situation. So you want to make sure that whatever that looks like for you is what you have saved.
All right. And I guess that too would be going more into like a retirement question as well. I'm not sure if that's where it's like aimed toward.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So my thing is, I'm sitting here thinking, if I was 40, and that was great what you said, but it's like, at what age do I want to retire? So you can go on Google and look at like a retirement calculator, and they can also kind of like chart out if you want to just say how 500,000 set aside at retirement, and you live off of the dividends off of that, and just say if you average out at 10%, then you would get like $50,000 back. So I'm not sure, but with the retirement, I mean, if it is a retirement question, I would pretty much probably look at a credible source and just like play around with a retirement calculator. I guess I'm a geek. A lot of times I will just go to like different calculators and punch numbers in just to daydream. But you know, it's not nothing wrong with dreaming a little. So
yeah. I didn't even realize that's where the question was going, but that's a great point.
Oh, I'm not sure. Coming from a different viewpoint as well. So
yeah. I'm laughing at the comments. Rochelle and Asia are having a good time with my Disney obsession. It's okay. I love y'all.
Oh yeah. When you talk about traveling with Rochelle, you know she's waking up.
That's right. Yes, she just woke up a little bit more now.
Okay, we have another question here. My ex-wife wants to refinance her house. Interest rates are low, but she's 10 years in. Should she?
I think that depends on a variety of factors that I don't have the information to. So I mean, it depends on so many things. You know, what's the goal of refinancing? Are you trying to get lower payments? Are you trying to pay off the house sooner? There's, you know, is it just getting an interest rate lower? So you're probably best off speaking to a professional in that area, like a mortgage loan officer, to see what the pros and cons are of that.
All right. And also, Shay TV, a few weeks ago, we did a live with Christine, and my mind is going blank. But she was, what was her name? Oh, Keisha is trying to tell me. But her contact information is on there, and it was a loan officer. And I'm pretty sure that she will be in better position to walk you through exactly the refinance and what would make the best sense and which would make that will be more logical for your situation, because I know everyone's situation is different. So yes.
Yeah.
All right. So Anna, is there any other things or gems that you wanted to drop on us tonight?
I mean, I think the best thing that I've heard since I've started budgeting on YouTube has been from The Long Run with Joel and Christy. They always say it's a long run, give yourself a little grace. And I think it's the best thing I've heard since I've been budgeting, because it's the truth, I think, in life in general, but especially when it comes to budgeting. Like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect budget. It's changing and it ebbs and flows with you. So give yourself some grace as you work through that and learn what works for you and what doesn't.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank everyone for coming out. I'm going to ask Keisha just to stroll the comments real quick. I see Rochelle here, Shay TV, Asia Sierra.
Thanks, guys.
And if I skip you, I'm so sorry. Here, I'm just looking at the comments. Maria Budget. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. And if I accidentally skip you, charge it to my head, not my heart, or you can just say, hey, in the comments real quick, then I will see it pop up. And, but thank you so much, Anna, for coming in tonight and just sharing a little bit of your knowledge, because you know that knowledge is power.
Yes,
so
it is.
you're empowering people to take control of their finances.
Yes.
So that's always an amazing thing. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining tonight. Be sure that you share, like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And I will see you next time. Remember that being frugal is not about being cheap. It's about being resourceful. Y'all have a great night.